Welcome to Module 5. This one is going to feel a little bit different in that we want to explain and remind of some of the major pitfalls and dangers and solutions that you need to be aware of as you are a helper. The first problem or first pitfall that it is very easy to fall into is the idea of being overly responsible. Like I am the helper and I'm responsible to make sure that they are rescued or they are sustained or they're cared for beyond the natural boundary that exists within ministry.
Right.
It's so crucial for you to retain the sense that you are not God. We know that intellectually, but we often take on the role of over asserting or being in a larger presence. I am not part of their family. I am not their pastor. I am not a clinician or a professional counselor, psychologist, social worker. I am a co-laborer within a church community that has concern and expresses this desire to render care. I am not responsible, I am present. And that idea that being present is the limit of what my role is within this activity. And then there are other people who carry other roles, like the pastor, like the family, like the professional clinician in the community. And my job is to stay right in my lane around being able to be present and care, express concern, walk with them for a short journey, and not take on roles that I am not prepared for, or I've not entered into that agreement with them to do.
Yeah, even as you say that, I actually feel my blood pressure go down a little bit thinking about the helper ministry, that you really can be in that role of helper without feeling like you have to do everything. You don't have to make sure that Casey makes it to church on Sundays, or make sure that Casey is not lonely and, help her get a regiment so she's getting off the couch more often or something. Like, that's not my job. As the helper, my job as a helper is to listen and to help her come up with what she wants to do, not for me to make it all happen for her.
Jen and I, as psychologists and as trainers of counselors and psychologists, spend a great deal of our time recognizing that pull within ourselves. That I want to just take you home with me and protect you, there's a back room in our house, and maybe you can, or even and say to our students, no, there's a boundary.
And that boundary of care actually makes the care better. So what you're doing is joining with the suffering of another person. And this is not an easy thing to do. You are signing up for a ministry, and you should be aware you are going to hear some stories that are very sad. And there is going to be loss and pain and struggle. I think you probably have a sense of that as you've signed up for this ministry. But the key to making that ministry work for you in the long term is understanding your role and your boundaries of care. And that boundary makes you effective in your role. And so that the person can come up with their own plan for how they're going to resolve the struggles of their life. And remembering, God is the ultimate caregiver. God is the one that's going to enact his plan in the life of the person that you're working with. And so you don't need to take that on for yourself. You are not alone also. You have an entire church community around you and other ministries. If the person doesn't have enough food, I'm sure there are food ministries in your community. If they don't have enough money to pay their electric bill, you can talk to that ministry in your community or your church. You don't have to solve those problems. You don't have to pay their electric bill. That's what we're talking about.
It will be really important for you, as you feel intensely, as you sit with another person in pain, your conversation about that pain is to be shared with the overseer, the leader of the church Charis ministry, and others within that community in your oversight and supervision times. This is an intense ministry. And the
Can be.
capacity to unload these things that I just received weighty things from conversation. And what do I do with it? I don't go out gossip there. I do bring it to the people that are within the ministry structure so that I am no longer burdening myself with these very
right.
painful stories.
That's right. Yeah, so it's really important that your church, you know, as a helper, who do I go to when I am feeling the stress and strain of this? Who
You
is the
will.
person
Yeah,
for me?
you will feel the stress and strain. We all do.
Yeah, we all do. And it's important to not do it alone.
Yeah.
Finally, we want you to be equipped with some emergency support services. You may not need this information for months or years ahead of you, but if you stay with the Charis ministry long enough, you may come across someone who is wanting to harm themselves, who is in an emergency situation, who has some very odd or peculiar behaviors that's making you very concerned. And we want to equip you with a couple of things. One of them is that there is a 911 for mental health care, and it's 988. And you can put that down, make sure you keep that information, because again, you may not need it for a long time, but you might want to put it in your phone right now. 988, mental health emergency care. It's available 24/7. Another is the 7 Cups of Tea app that we are associated with is available 24/7, and they have emergency numbers in there as well for additional things like runaways or other kinds of problems people might have, veterans, different types of people. Your church leader may have other resources, and you'll want to communicate that among each other, and you just want to kind of hold on to that as you go forward so that there's important numbers that you can call right in the moment, even if there's nobody else in the room with you at that time.
Yeah.
And you can call and even talk on the phone to 988 while the person's sitting right there. You can just do that right then. Finally, after something happens that's making you feel very nervous, right? Like listen to your gut telling you that something's wrong, loop back to your church leader. Whoever it is in your church that is handling the Church Cares ministry, make sure that person knows when some kind of emergency has happened. You should not keep that to yourself.
Yeah. Well said. Good.
Thank you.